So as I mentioned, this is going to also go across to YouTube. So welcome to anybody that is on YouTube. I kind of toy around with this a little bit and just see what I can do with that kind of thing. But anyway, welcome to my welcome to my favorite. These are going to be, it's basically new features in iPadOS 16, but it's, I would call them my favorite with one asterisk, and that is the Stage Manager. It has promise, but it's not there yet. So we'll talk about that as well. But welcome to my class. A little housekeeping before, I'll turn the snow off here. A little housekeeping before we get started. My wife signed up for a bowling league with my brother-in-law and my two nephews, and my sisters and my mom are going to be spectators, and this is going to be on Thursday nights. So what I think I'm going to do starting in January is just start this an hour earlier, just give you a heads up. So they'll probably start at 5, so then I can join them. I'm not actually on the league, but I could be a sub if they need me, that kind of thing. But I think they start at like 6:30 or something like that. So just kind of move things up an hour, for a few months, and we'll see how that goes. It might actually be better for people that are out of the country. I think I saw Janet from New Zealand. That'd be an hour earlier for her. I think what time is it over there, Janet? You have to unmute.
Just after midday. 12:03.
Okay. Anyway, welcome. And I am recording this, and it'll be on my site live tomorrow. So any other housekeeping before I get started? I don't think so. All right, let's get started here. So what I'm going to be talking about here, wrong slide. I'm going to be talking about my favorite iPadOS 16 features. And not necessarily, all of them aren't my, actually, yes, I will go with that. They're my favorite because, with iOS 16, iPadOS 16, what Apple did is they added, they tout over 100 new features, and I'm not going to go through all those 100 features. And I don't, a lot of them are not going to be anything, they're insignificant. Let's just go with that. And nice, but insignificant. But these, the ones that I'm going to highlight here, I think are pretty significant, and I think that they'll help a lot of people. So that's why I'm calling them my favorite, outside of my little asterisk, like I mentioned earlier, the Stage Manager. It's a big development, not my favorite, but it is a new feature, and it is, hopefully there's some promise with it. It seems to be a little bit buggy. Maybe I should give it another try. But anyway, so that is what we're going to be covering. Now, since I did open this class up to everyone and it is on YouTube, I'm just going to do a real short little introduction of who I am for those that are not familiar with who I am. I'm Dan Wasink. I'm owner, trainer, everything with Dan's Tutorials, danstutorials.com, and that is DANS, not dance. You don't want to see me dancing. I have over 30 years publishing, magazine publishing, online publishing, and I've been doing this for over a decade now. So I'm also a former Apple genius, and I've submitted quite a few apps into the App Store. So I know how that process works, unfortunately. Let's go to what we're going to be talking about. The first thing that I'm going to mention is the iPad. They're starting to introduce a more Mac-like experience, and I really think this is a smart move in a lot of respects. Not that I want the iPad to turn into the Mac. It's not that at all. But the iPad is not an iPhone, and that's basically what the software for it has basically been, the iPhone kind of stuff. So now they're starting to add some of these features that make it more Mac-like. This includes we can now customize toolbars in specific apps, and we have a new improved contextual menu. So let's take a look at how we can customize the toolbar. So we'll go over to my iPad here, and let's open up Numbers. When we're looking at Numbers here, Let's go create a new spreadsheet. We'll just call it Simple Budget. You're going to see that up towards the top. Let me move my keyboard here. Don't need that. All right, so I have my iPad nicely here. All right, you're going to see up at the top we have this toolbar here. And for those that are on a Mac, it's going to look very, familiar. This concept is very familiar. I want to add a new table. I click on the table here. I can add a new table. I want to add a new shape. Click on the shapes. I can add a new shape. Well, on the Mac, for years, we've been able to customize this toolbar. I don't know if you know that or not, but you can customize a toolbar. I want to say this is from Mac OS 10 beta, kind of thing. It actually came from Next Step. These toolbars, you've always been able to customize on the Mac. And that is up to the app. It's not on every app. But now we can do that on the iPad as well. So if you want to move these around, you can move these around. And all you have to do is just go up to the three dots here. This is the More button, what Apple calls More. And you're going to see Customize Toolbar. And when I tap on that, here are all the tools that are now available to me. And if I want to use any one of these, all I have to do is just drag it up to the top. So let's say I use pivot tables quite a bit. I just drag this up. I place it where I want. We'll go over here. And now I have pivot tables in my toolbar there. If we go over to, let's see, which one did I recently have? Reminders. I'm going to talk about reminders in a little bit. But when I go up to the More button here, you're going to see Customize Toolbar. And not much in this one. I can add an image. But if you add a lot of images, you can go and add that to the top there. And now you can just go and add an image right from the toolbar. And you can rearrange these. So I'm going to say most of the Apple apps, I go into Keynote. So loading up my presentation here. And I click on the three dots, Customize Toolbar, and there I'm able to customize the toolbar. Most of the Apple apps, or anything that, like where you're creating content or anything like that, have that feature. I'm going to assume that third-party apps will also add this down the road. So I think that is really cool. I customize my toolbars on the Mac, actually, for specific things, because there's some features that I don't use and other ones that I do. Well, now I can customize that specific app to how I want it. The other thing that I really like is the contextual menus that they've added or enhanced. So for those that are not familiar with contextual menus, I'm going to go into my contacts. With contextual menus, what you're able to do is when you long press on an item, so I'm going to long press on Abigail Appleseed here, and when I long press on her, I have a contextual menu. On the Mac, you would use the Control key. You hold down the Control key and click on the trackpad or your mouse. You're going to get that little contextual menu. This is borrowed from Windows. Windows has had this, I want to say, prior to Apple. So anyway, been around for a long time on PCs, Macs and Windows, but not so much on the iPad, and it was very limited up until iPadOS 16. Now what I'm able to do, you can see message here. I can select which email address I want to use. If I had more email addresses in here, I'd be able to select the email address that I want to message to. I can Apple Pay someone. If you had more than one email address in here, you could select which email. So you can see it's kind of interactive there with that contextual menu. And this is throughout the operating system, throughout iPadOS. The Contacts app just has a really, I can show it off really well. But this contextual menu is, if I go to weather, you can see I can select which city I want to go to. Now, again, they did have this, but it's much more enhanced in specific apps with iPadOS. So you can kind of see where the future is going with iPadOS. So I really like that because I want them to bring, I don't need them to bring iPadOS to the Mac, but I'd love for them to bring the features because the iPad is limited when it's just using an iPhone type OS. So now you can see that they're bringing that up. So those are my two favorite things with how they're bringing it into the iPad world. What is it? Deborah asked, what is at 5 o'clock? I would like to start at 5:30. Oh, so my classes, Deborah, and I'll mention this towards the end as well. Come January, I'm going to be moving my webinars and classes, my Thursday night things, to 5 o'clock. We set up a family bowling with my sisters and brother-in-law and nieces and nephews kind of thing, and it's at 6:30 on Thursdays, and I want to participate in that as much as I can. So I'm just going to move them up an hour. So you can always find that out on my website. Okay. So, more Mac-like experience. Very, very cool, and I was really happy to see that. What else do we have? We now have a weather app with weather notifications for severe weather notifications for selected cities. Well, first of all, we have a weather app. We didn't have one with the iPad. The same weather app is on the Mac as well. If you're using macOS Ventura, you're going to get the same weather app. So you're going to see I have here weather, and it incorporates a lot of dark sky because, as probably most of us know, Apple purchased dark sky several years ago, the little darling of the weather apps. I used it before Apple bought them. The developers are really great. And so now, since Apple bought them, what they've done is they've incorporated a lot of the stuff into the weather app. What Apple used to use was the Weather Channel, and they probably still do to a certain degree, but now they're using kind of their own information as well. So this is the weather app. And if you look at it, it doesn't look too much different. You know, if you had an iPhone with an old weather app, it doesn't look too much different from that. But what is really cool about this weather app is when you go to any one of these cards, I call these things cards here. So let's say you want to look at the feels like temperature right now.
We're not seeing your iPad.
Yeah, we're not seeing.
Dang it. I do it every time I do that. Sorry. Okay, so here's the weather app. So we can see these, we have these little cards here. What I should do is put my little window here so I can actually see what you guys are seeing. And I'm going to spotlight myself. Spotlight for everyone. There we go. All right, there we go. Now you can see everything. And I can see what you're seeing. So hopefully it won't happen again. Okay, so anyway, these are what I call little cards. You can see feels like 24 degrees. The humidity is 67. You know, I have my hour-by-hour forecast up here. I have my 10-day forecast here. But when you tap on these cards, we can also get an hour-by-hour forecast, and we can get a 10-day forecast. So let's go with feels like. When I tap on feels like, I want to see what the temperature is going to feel like in the next hour. And I can see that just by dragging the slider around. You want to see what it's going to be like on Monday? I just click on Monday, the 5th, and there's the feels like temperature. And this is available with, for the most part, all of these cards. Here's precipitation, hour by hour and by day. And I can also swipe to go through. So it's a really nice weather app. The only thing that I have seen with it is the temperature. So my wife just got onto iOS 16 yesterday. And prior to that, what I found is the temperatures were a little bit different. So you might see that because they're getting in from two different sources. iPadOS 15, well, they didn't have a weather app, gets their information from the Weather Channel, and now they're using dark sky. So you're going to see a slight degree differences just because they're using different information. I don't know who's right, I don't know who's wrong, but it is a little bit different. Let's talk about yeah.
Wait a minute, to get the app, I just went to weather, and would I call it the weather app for iPad 3? Is that what I would call this app, or do I just?
It's just called weather. There's a little cloud with the sun in there.
Okay, I'll look for it. Thank you.
Yeah. And if it's not there, it should be there, but if it's not there, you could probably download it from the App Store, just make sure it's coming from Apple. The other cool feature...
How do you change the location?
That's what I'm going to go through
Mine seems
next.
locked on
Okay, good, thanks.
Yep. So if you look in the upper left-hand corner, you're going to see that we have this little sidebar icon where my pointer is. And when I tap on it, I'm able to select my locations. And you're going to see up at the top here, I can search. So what I'd like to do is add Flushing, Michigan. This is where my in-laws live. So I want to know what the weather is over there. So I just go Flushing. You're going to see Michigan here. I can look up the weather, and if I want to add it to my list, which is what I do want to do, I just tap on Add, and now Flushing is in my list, and I can drag this to put it up towards the top if I want. So it's pretty easy to add. To delete, you just swipe to delete it. But what I really think is cool with this is they also added severe weather notifications for selected cities. And what I mean by selected cities is cities that I select. So my in-laws are both in their 80s. They're still getting along good. They came over here for Thanksgiving and spent it with my family. But it would still be nice to know when there is severe weather over there. So, my wife and I, we can kind of make sure that everything's all good. Or maybe you have a second house or a cabin in Michigan here. A lot of people have smaller cabins up north. So what you'd like to do is know when there's severe weather. So then you know that you may have to go up there after the severe weather and make sure everything's all good, that kind of thing. So, yes, it is... where the Apple Watch gets its weather from. So what you can do with this is if you go up to the More button in the list, what you're going to see is notifications. And when you tap on notifications, what we have here is severe weather for our current location. This is nothing, well, it's new to the iPad, but it's not new to weather, not new to the weather app on the iPhone. What we were able to do is receive notifications when there was severe weather in our current location. Well, that's fine, but I would like to know when there's severe weather or if there's going to be precipitation in Flushing. So I can go to Flushing here and I can just say, I want severe weather alerts for Flushing, Michigan. I'm not worried about precipitation, so I'm just going to leave that off. But I could also set it for next hour precipitation. So now when I tap on Done here, if there's a severe weather notification for Flushing, Michigan, my iPad will let me know through a notification. So you can set it for selected cities, and it's cities that you select. So I think that is really cool how you can do that. Yeah.
Dan, yeah, maybe minor point, but when on those locations, some of them had clouds moving and some didn't.
It's probably pulling up the weather from that specific location.
Right, so you see Littleton, the clouds moving,
Yeah.
Mesa, the clouds moving.
Yeah.
Well, Tucson is,
Mm-hmm.
but the other ones don't have anything.
So if Key West is nice
Okay.
clear sky.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
Let's, somebody's from New Zealand here. I didn't see what city, but we'll just go New Zealand, Queenstown, because they're going to be in day. And it looks like it's a little cloudy over there just by looking at this. So, Janet, is it cloudy?
I'm in Auckland, and yes, it is cloudy.
So there, nice. And those are the nice little things that I think are really cool. This is the same weather app, by the way, that is on macOS Ventura. So you have this on Ventura with the same settings and all that. So, all right.
We also have on our iPhone.
Yeah, same thing on the
Don't we?
iPhone. Mm-hmm.
So we
Yep.
don't need to enable notifications twice. If they're coming from the iPhone, you don't want them twice.
Right. Yes. 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 Yep. All right. All right. Improve focus mode options. This is something that I've toyed around with when I was talking about this on the with the iPhone and the Mac. I thought that I would be able to extend this a little bit further and try different things, but I still haven't quite grasped it yet. But I think there's potential here. And what do I mean by this? So with focus modes, which were introduced last year, what we could do is we could make a customized Do Not Disturb. So when I go to my settings app here and we go to focus, you're going to see I have Do Not Disturb, which is our standard. It's just not going to turn anything on, or I'm not going to get any notifications. But I can also create other focuses. And with these focuses, last year, what we were able to do is set who we want to receive notifications from, as well as which apps we want to receive notifications from. Okay, that sounds pretty cool, but also, some of you heard me say this before, I thought what they should have done is set it to, well, maybe it's not who I want to receive notifications from. Maybe I don't want to receive notifications from specific people. So they, instead of just making it, these are the people you tell that focus, I want to receive notifications from Beth, my mom, my brother, my sister. Well, when I'm at the school, I don't want to receive notifications from my sister, my brother, and I wasn't able to do that. You couldn't do that. Well, now you can. On top of that, what we have are different filters. So let's go and create a focus, and you'll kind of see how all this works. What I'm going to do is create a focus for, let's just say, the school. So what I do is I tap on the plus. It's really easy, and this is what they did, is they made it really easy to do this. I'm just going to go custom because we're going to customize it. And let's just call this school. I'm just going to go with their colors here, and we go with the little graduation hat, school focus. So now I've named it. That's basically all I've done. Now what I need to do is I need to set it up. What do I want it to do when I go into this focus, when I turn this specific Do Not Disturb on? Well, first thing is I need to choose people who I want to receive notifications from or who I do not want to receive notifications from. So I tap on this, and you can see I have here silence notifications from specific people, or what I can do is say allow notifications from specific people. So that's something new that they add there. So on top of that, so let's say I have in my contacts, I have a list of all of the school employees. So what I would like to do is allow notifications from everybody in that list. All I would have to do is just say allow notifications from people. I go over to lists, and then I would select my school, and then I could select everyone that I no longer want, or that I do want to receive notifications from. Let's say that what I would like to do is silence I have a list of people that send too many notifications, send me too many messages. We all have those people, right? So you put them into a special list in your contacts, and what you're able to do is say silence notifications from everyone in that list. You could select people in that list. So I think that is really, really handy. So I'm just going to go with add people. We'll just go with Abigail here. Done. All right. So I'm only going to receive notifications from Abigail here. Okay, that's good. Let's go to the next option. And as you can see, this is their new step through. It's pretty easy to set up. Who do I want to receive calls from? So those notifications are not calls necessarily. Well, I can say my contacts only. I always want to receive calls from my contacts. I can say allowed people only, which is where I can select from a list in the contacts. Everybody, maybe I just want everybody to be able to call me. Or I can just say contact group. I'm just going to go with everybody. Anybody can call me when I'm at the school. All right, the next option here is apps. Which apps do I want to receive notifications from? Or which apps do I not want to receive notifications from? So I'm going to go silence notifications from the App Store. When I'm at the school, I don't need to see these App Store ads. I don't want to see them at any time, really. But when I'm at the school, I don't want to see anything from the iTunes Store. I don't want to see anything from music. And now, when I turn this focus on, I will not receive any notifications from these three apps. Tap on done. We can now select which, well, this is not new. I can select which screen. So if I had a specific page, a specific home page with a bunch of apps, the school uses Google. So I could have a page here with all the Google apps. And when I go into this focus, I would just select that page. Here, we'll just go with this one here. I'll just go with that one there. Let's just say that was all Google apps. When I go into that focus, it's going to go to that page. I can still get to all of the other ones. Let's see. Actually, no, I cannot. I can select which ones I want. You're going to see we have a blue check mark there. So now I'm only going to see that one. I can set when it's going to activate. When I open up a specific app, I would usually use a location with this. When I go to the school, the iPad will know I'm at the school, and it will automatically go into that particular focus. You can kind of see the power here with it. Now, I think the reason why I can't figure out how to have it work for me is because I work from home. So I have a blended kind of thing going on here. But I could say location, I type in the address, and then when I go to that location, that focus will turn on. When I leave that location, that focus will turn off. I don't have to turn it on and off automatically. I do have a focus set up called Webinar, and when I open up Zoom, you can see here I have app. When I open up Zoom, it turns off all my notifications. So hopefully I do not receive any notifications when I'm doing a webinar, as an example. And then the last thing here, before I show you, how we turn it on and just basically how it works, is we can add filters. This is new in iPadOS 16. With filters, what we're able to do is select which calendars we want to see. So if you have a school calendar, you can only show that. You can select to only show that calendar. So I'm just going to go with I do have a school, so I'm going to show. It's only going to show me the school calendar. I will be able to choose all the other. I will be able to see all the other calendars if I want, but by default, it's only going to show me the school calendar. Add. What about email? We have multiple accounts. Well, what I'm able to do is say, show me only the school account when I go into my mail. So I just tap on school, add. Now when I go into my mail app and I'm at the school, I'm only going to see my school account. I'm not going to see any of the other ones. When I leave the school, then I can see all of the other accounts. We can add tab groups for Safari. Let's say with Safari, what we can do is we can create different tab groups. This was introduced last year. And now, let's say you create a tab group with all of the school websites. What I can do is say, when I go into that focus, show me those tab groups by default. Again, I can go to all of the other ones, but by default, it's going to bring me just to those tab groups. Same thing with messages, and I can set up a couple different filters there. So now, let's see how this works. So I have it all set up. When I go into my calendar, right now it is not turned on, so if I go into my calendar here, you're going to see I have all of my calendars there. When I go into my mail here, I have all of my mail here. Now, let's go into that particular focus. First thing you're going to see is the screen will change. So to get to that focus, because I'm doing it manually, I have to go to the control center. And I say school. Okay, there's a screen. I'm looking at all my Google apps as an example. Perfect. All right, let's go into my calendar. I didn't add it to this page, but again, I can get to it. So I just go to calendar. I'm only seeing my school. If I want to turn that off, I just tap on turn off. And then I can, see all my calendars. Turn it back on, and I'm only looking at my school calendar. So it's a way for us to filter. You can see the same thing with mail. It's just because I have it. If I go to all inboxes here, what it will do, I think that's. Let me quick look at this mailbox here. Like I say with Kevin, I might have. Yeah, that's the school one is not a. I got a couple things messed up here, but hold on here. Okay. I'm back. Okay, so I won't be able to, if I were to click on all mailboxes, what it would do is it would show me the school email, and then I'd see all of the emails from the school. Right now I have it tied to one of my personal accounts, so you'd see some personal emails in there, and I don't want to do that. And this is just a generic thing. But trust me, it does work. And you're going to see also here we have these little crescent moons here telling you that those are, if I were to click on all mailboxes, I would not be able to see those. So it's really pretty slick at how it works, and you can see it can do quite a bit more if you've played around with it. Now when I turn it off, I can get to all of my screens, and if I go to my calendar, there's all of my stuff again. So it really extends what we can do with Focus, and I'm still trying to figure out how I can incorporate this. I know there's something there. You can see that it does a lot, but I think with my problem is I work and my home is my work and all that, so I have a very blended. I'm not at the school so much anymore. I don't think I've been in there in the last 4 weeks actually. Yeah, it's pretty extensive with that Focus, and I can kind of see what they're trying to do, and I like it. I use Spark Mail, as some of you know, and with Spark Mail, what I'm able to do is hide different mailboxes and all that, and now we're able to do that with the Mail app, and I love that. When I was at the school, I would look at the mail. When I'm not at the school, they're not paying me to look at their mail 24/7. Hide that. And then I can choose if I want to look at it. That's kind of the whole idea with this Focus. So improved Focus. Really cool stuff with iPadOS 16 and iOS 16 and macOS Ventura. A lot of this, all of this is available on all three of those devices. All right, let's take a look at Maps. Maps added a couple of new cool things with it. Again, available on Maps on macOS Ventura and Maps on iOS 16, the iPhone, but we're going to look at it on the iPad. With Maps, basically, we have a couple of different features, and there's a third one. I haven't confirmed this, but I'll show you what I think. I think it's new to iPadOS 16. First one, let's just go with multi-step routing or whatever. So we are going to, let's just say we're going to Des Moines, Iowa. This is where my aunt lives. So I would just tap on Drive, and the first thing you're going to notice is I can add a stop in there. If I don't add a stop, this is the route that it's going to take me. But let's say that we wanted to make another stop to this. What we're going to do is go to Milwaukee first. So I go to Milwaukee. And right now, it's going to take us from my location to Des Moines to Milwaukee. That's not what I want to do. Well, we can drag this around, and now it's going to take us the correct route. And then what I could do is add another step. Can you hear me all right?
Seems to be good.
It's good?
Yeah.
Okay. I noticed that it looks like everything is good. I noticed that earlier I had to upload a video, today's video from my site. I upload to Vimeo and to YouTube, and normally it takes like 2 or 3 minutes, and it took like 10 minutes. So I don't know what's going on around here, but we'll continue on. All right. So basically, with the routing here, what I'm able to do is add multi-step routing in here. On top of that, we can add traffic in here, predicted traffic. So right now, this is going to take me 9 hours and 5 minutes if I were to leave right now. But let's say that I was going to leave at, let's see if I want to hit Chicago. Let's just go with, I'm going to leave at 7 a.m. tomorrow. I want to see how long it'll take me. What I would do is I just go over here to Now, and I say Friday. We'll go 7 a.m. Apply. And now what it's doing, this is based on history, traffic history and all that. Wow, it's actually going to take me shorter if I were to leave tomorrow at 7. I thought I'd hit more with the Chicago traffic. But you can get the idea that you can get, multi-stop and kind of choose when you want to leave. You can even reverse it. Let's say that I wanted to arrive there at a specific time. So our Aunt Jan is cooking dinner, and that is going to be ready at tomorrow at 6 p.m. So what I would like to do is I would like to arrive there at 6 p.m. The way that I can do that, I don't want to leave. Hold on here. Leave. Arrive by. There it is. Up at the top. Tomorrow. I'll just leave it at 5 p.m. So if I wanted to arrive there at 5 p.m. tomorrow, I would have to leave at 9 o'clock in the morning tomorrow using this route. So not only can you set when you're going to leave, you can also do the opposite and set when you want to arrive there. So now I know that I would probably leave like at 8 o'clock in case there's some unknown traffic that I might run into, or I want to get there a little bit early, that kind of thing. But you can do the opposite of that as well. On top of that, this is the unknown. I don't know if this is new to iPadOS 16 or not, but you can print these directions. So it's loading the preview here. Gathering printer is low on toner. Blah, blah, yeah. Basically, what it would do is it would give me, there it is. Remember the old AAA books that we used to be able to get at AAA? We can create our own right down here. You can create a little flip book here, and here are my 9 pages that I would need to do or follow when I go there, so you can print out a book as well. And again, I'm not sure if that's new to iPadOS 16, but it's something that I discovered and I haven't gone back. I do have an iPad with iPadOS 15 on it, so I should check. But I thought that was a cool feature that you could do that. So, all right. So that's what I think is really cool with the Maps app. What else do we have here? Mail. All right. So Mail, as I mentioned earlier, I use Spark for Mail, and there's a couple of reasons why I use it. And one of them, or actually a couple of reasons right here, is schedule and snooze. What I'm able to do in Spark is schedule emails and snooze them. Some of you heard me talk about that. Well, now, with Mail on the iPad and the iPhone and the Mac, what you can do is you can schedule and snooze, among other things as well. But these are my favorite items that you can do. So when I go into Mail here, and let's say I wanted to write an email to Chris, but I don't want to send it right now. It's in my head, but I don't want to send it right now. I'll send it tomorrow in case I want to think of something else, or maybe I just what I've told is sometimes what I will do is I will schedule emails. It's my little trick here. I reply to a lot of emails at night when I'm sitting in front of the TV, but I don't want people to know that because then they think that I might be available. So what I'll do is I'll respond and then schedule it to go out tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. So if you receive an email from me at 9 a.m., it probably came, I probably wrote it the night before. But how do you do that? So basically, I'm going to write a new email, and let's just go with, I'm going to write this to Abigail, and I write, hi, I write something in here. If I tap on the blue button, it'll send it. But watch what happens when I just long press on this blue button. If I long press on it, I can send it later. So here's where I can say send it at 8 a.m. tomorrow. So what it'll do is it'll schedule that email, and then at 8 a.m. tomorrow, Abigail will get this. Maybe I don't want it tomorrow. Maybe I want to send it later. I can go send it later, and I can choose which time that email and what day that email is going to go out on. Now, one catch to this, and they say it right up here, make sure that your device is online. So, if this iPad, make sure if you do it on an iPad, you want to make sure that that iPad is online on a Wi-Fi. So if you take it somewhere and it's not online, any emails that you have scheduled will not go out until it gets back online. Just so you know, kind of thing. But I think that is really, really good, and it's one of the main reasons why I use SparkMail. And now I no longer have to do that. I could do that with Apple Mail. The other thing that I use with SparkMail quite a bit is snooze. So I will get an email and I don't need to respond to it right away, and it's just sitting here in my inbox. I like to keep my inbox at about 5 to 10 really is my goal, but it doesn't typically go that way. So a way that I do that is you snooze your emails. Ones that you do not want to deal with right now, you can snooze them so then they come back at a later date or a later time. So let's just go with this email here. I'm reading it. I want to read this later, but I don't want to, if as days goes on, this email is just going to get buried, right? All right, let's just choose an old one here. We'll go with the cows that swam through a hurricane. Yeah, I'd like to read that, but I don't want to read that right now. But I do want to read that. So what I'm able to do is snooze this. When you snooze it, at the time that you want it to come back, it'll move this email right back up to the top. So then you can read it. It'll remind you, or however you want to say it. I think Apple calls it remind. I call it snooze. Sorry about the confusing terminology. The way that works is tap and hold and notify me. That's what they call it. So I go notify. Nope, that's not it. Where is it? Stop notifying. Notifications, well, when someone responds to it, maybe I can't do it with this one. Remind me. There it is. Remind me. So I swipe, remind me, and if I tap on remind me in an hour, what it'll do in an hour is it'll move this email from November 7 up to the top. It'll move it right up to the top of my inbox. So let's go remind me later. Right now it is 6:45, so I'm going to go with 6:40. Let's do this. Done. Okay. So that's buried down in there, the cows. At 6:46, where are we at? Another 25 seconds. 6:46, in theory, what that will do, and I say in theory because I haven't tried this, what it'll do is it'll move it up to the top. So it's a way that you can, put off an email that you know that you need to deal with, but you don't need to deal with it right now. You can get with the other one, so it's just not cluttering or sitting in your inbox with all of your other emails. Or, it'll get buried. It's not going to get buried at the bottom, and then you forget about it. And there it is. It just came. Cows that swam through. 6:46. And that was from November 7, and you can actually see it has a little clock there telling you that this was
I think you can also go up on your toolbar up above Apple News there where it has the one arrow going to the right. It's up above, just right above there, right there. Click on that, and because I know on my iPhone and then go down. It gives me the option of remind me. That's where that's where I got remind me.
Probably I know there is another spot. I know there is another spot for it, and you can customize. On the iPhone,
but if you use that right that single right arrow, then at least on my and that's a 10, iPhone 10, but it's running the newest iOS.
All right, here's what you can do, Chris. Here's another. We'll combine a couple of the things that I've talked about. So I'm going to reset this. Remember how we can customize our toolbars? If you use that remind me quite a bit, what you can do is go to customize. There is a later up here. Drag it up there. And now let's say I wanted to, the red wave that never came. No, that's political. We'll stay out of that. Great reads. There we go. Okay, we'll just go with that one. I can just go to this here because I customize it and say remind me. So that's how you can do it too, just by customizing the toolbar. All right. Things are running a little slow here, so hopefully everything will work. I can see things are lagging. All right. So that is some of my favorite new features in Mail. With messages, we can now edit our text. We've seen this with iOS 16. We can now do that with iPadOS 16. We can undo sends, and we have translate, and we can dictate in the Messages app. My favorite, actually, I do use edit quite a bit because I'm a horrible typist, but I've been using dictate quite a bit as well. So let's look at that. When I go into messages, what I can do, let's go with this one, Abigail here. If I go and send a message, hi, we all know how that works. Not delivered. Why wasn't that delivered? Here, I'll send it to Beth. I'll bug my wife. All right, so I just sent Beth, hi. And if I wanted to edit that, what I do is I just long press on this. And from here, what I'm able to do is edit it. Maybe I wanted to be a little more formal. Hello. So now you're going to see it says edited, and it says hello. And that's what Beth is going to see as well. It's if she is using iPadOS 16 or iOS 16 or macOS Ventura. If she's using an older version of iOS, iPadOS, what she will see is two messages, one that says hi and then one that says hello. So it works great when everyone's on the same operating system. It's okay when you have a mixed environment. So it's something you need to be aware of. I can also delete this. You're going to see undo send. If I undo that, it is now off of her iPhone as well. Now, again, for people that are on older OSs, if she was using iOS 15, it would not delete it. So again, perfect when everyone's playing on the same playing field. Not so great. Okay, something I think everyone should be aware of. If you send something, if they're not on iPad, iOS, Ventura, they're still going to see the old message. Translate. If I long press on this, you're going to see I have translate here. And what I'm able to do is easily translate that. So just from a long press on the message, you can translate it. It will even do Fahrenheit to Celsius. That's not translate. That is something else. So I forget what they call it. But, in New Zealand, they probably use... What's that?
Conversion.
Conversion, yes, thank you. So, in New Zealand, they use Celsius. So if I were to send, hey, it's, 36 degrees Fahrenheit here, what she would be able to do is long press on it, and then she'd be able to see what it is in Celsius. And then my favorite thing, probably with messages, is you can dictate. And I'll talk a little bit more about dictate in a minute. But with dictate, you have your message down here at the bottom here. And over on the right, you're going to see we have this little microphone. This is what is new. Now, you may have seen... I'm going to open up my app tray. This little blue icon below my pointer, that is what used to be over here on the right. And what that was is an audio recording. You tap and hold on that, and you can say, hey, I'll be home shortly. And then if I sent that to Beth, she would be able to hear my voice. It's just a short little audio recording. I don't think a lot of people used it. I had our friend Marilyn, she used it for a little, I think it's a little gimmicky. I'm sure people do use it, but I'm going to say it's not a popular feature. You're going to see it's right up here. I must have sent something to Beth. But I think what people will use now is dictate. All you have to do is just tap on this microphone. What are we having for dinner? And you can see it even put the question mark in there. I don't have to speak punctuation. That is what's new with dictation. One of the many things that is new with dictation. You don't have to speak punctuation. So she could respond back, and then I could just be like, well, that sounds good. Did you get any Diet Coke? And you can see it put the punctuation in there. And there's the question because I added it as a question, kind of thing. So I use that actually on my iPhone. I'm not a big Siri fan. I have a love-hate relationship because I can't get her to work for me as like I want her to. But this really works well. So I really like that. Let's talk about dictation. There we go. Dictation. So there's a smarter dictation, as you kind of saw there. And go back to my iPad here. I'm just going to go into my notes. And what I'd like to do is, let's see here. Oh, that's good. Okay. I'm going to just create a new note here. And I'm going to pull something up to read on my Mac. Let's go with, let's see, I didn't have a paragraph. Okay. All right, that's a little geeky, but oh well. Okay, so I'm just going to press on the dictate button down here. This would be in the keyboard. I do have an external keyboard, but if I were to show my keyboard, it would be in the keyboard there. And this is the dictation. First thing is when I read this, you're not going to hear me say any punctuation. It's going to pick up the punctuation. Second thing is I'm able to type while it's dictating. So if I do something wrong, I can correct it. I can move the cursor to where I do, it took a word wrong and I can just select it and say the correct word. I'm not going to stop dictation. It's what I would call free-flowing kind of thing. So let's go and do that. The highest performing WordPress-powered web or mobile community platform for web or mobile platforms on any device. Advanced security and privacy, features to help keep your platform, users, and data protected. The biggest bang for your buck. Is it really the biggest bang for your buck? iPad. I tap on the little microphone there. I don't know if you saw, I didn't want to say it because it would dictate, but there was a little microphone where the cursor was, and that's how I stopped the dictation. And if you look, it got all the punctuation. I was able to select that and say iPad to correct it. And basically, it's all set. It will sit there and listen to you until you tell it to stop. In past versions of dictation, it would stop automatically. After a certain time of, like with me, I have to collect my thoughts. So I'll be like, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden it would stop because it thought that I was done talking. Well, now it will not do that. I could tap on here and just keep talking, and it's going to do this and that and the other. And now I'm going to pause. Where's the Jeopardy song? I'm going to go down to the bottom here and stop it. So even with those pauses there, it just sat there and just waited for me. So you can collect your thoughts and even just stop talking and go and make corrections if you want. You could use the keyboard. And it even works with the virtual keyboard as well. Like I say, I have a smart keyboard on this, but it does work with that too. So a much smarter dictation with the iPad. And it's probably something that I should try to embrace because my typing skills are just horrendous. All right. Photos. Yeah.
Back on notes. This is Dale.
Yeah. Hi, Dale.
If you're on a screen of with notes, and your device times out and goes blank, how do you get back to the same note? When I tap the screen, it takes me out to a blank note, and I've got to all go back and all documents and then click on the document again.
I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question. I'm going to be with your group next week, Wednesday. Are you going to be with Alaska?
Yes, Thursday, I think, probably.
When,
Oh, no,
when-
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
I'm sorry.
Let's
Don't
bring
let me-
that let's bring that up then and see if we can figure out what that is. So I don't know.
Thank you.
So okay. All right. Let's see here. Oh, so photos. With photos, two things that I really like: shared library. Probably this is huge, I think. And then find duplicates in photos. It's a nice touch because I didn't realize how many duplicates I had in my real library. I have 30,000 photos and videos, and I found like 800 duplicates. All right, so let's talk about the shared library first. I would dare say probably the biggest thing, at least from what I've learned from my friends and why they all tried to share their same iCloud account back when they all got iDevices and all that, is because they wanted to share their photos. So I have Jody and Darren, friends Jody and Darren. I finally got them at Ponch in Maryland. I could keep going. What they did when they first got their devices is they shared the same iCloud account because they wanted to share their photos. And it just doesn't work that way, and it just got to be too messy, as we all know, because when you share an iCloud account, you're sharing everything. Messages, all that. The iCloud doesn't know that it's you or Ponch and not Marilyn, or Jody and not Darren, that kind of thing. So what you couldn't share any photos outside of a shared album. And a shared album is nice. It's nice, but it's really set up as an album that people can share. It doesn't put high resolution photos in there. You don't have all of the same features. I can't edit photos in there like I can when it's in the library. So if I go into my photos here, I can tap on any one of these. I can edit it. I can, all that kind of stuff. It's in my library. Well, that's what the shared library does. Basically, the shared library is a separate library, and you can share it with up to 5 people. So what you can do is add a photo here, or take it with your iPhone. It'll add it to the library here because you'd be using iCloud Photo Library. That's what shared library is. It's with iCloud. And then you could share it. I could share a photo with my wife, Beth, and it's not in an album, so she could get that full resolution. If I make any changes to it, she would see those changes. If she makes any changes to it, I would see those changes. It's 2 completely separate libraries. So if we look here, you're going to see that some of these photos here have in the upper right-hand corner, this little silhouette of 2 people. This is telling me that is in the shared library. So we can easily see which photos are in the shared library. If I want to view only my personal photos, I just go up to the More in the upper right-hand corner, and you're going to see Personal Library. Tap on it. Now I'm just looking at my personal library. So this is how it normally would, this is our old library that we're looking at. But now I'd like to see the shared library. I want to see what photos Beth has added as an example if I was sharing this with her. I just go up to the upper right-hand corner, and you're going to see shared library. Now I'm looking at all of the shared library, and you can view both of them as well. You can move photos back and forth. So I like this photo. Let's go to my personal library. So I'm going to go back to the upper right-hand corner, and I'm going to go to my personal library. And then we're going to go with this Disney photo here. I'd like to share that. This is in my personal library. I think Beth would like this, or whoever I'm sharing my library with. If you go to the upper right-hand corner, you're going to see that we have a little pull down, and I'm able to move this to the shared library. It doesn't duplicate it, it moves it. So you just tap on that, and now it is in. Let's go. It is in my shared library. So we can easily move photos back and forth using that little trick. I think this is really, really cool. And, now that Beth has gone up to iOS 16, I can start implementing this, and we can, create a shared library. I wasn't allowing her to upgrade because I still used her phone to see what was different with iOS 15. That's the downfall of being married to me. She has to wait a little bit on some of this stuff because I use her phone as a demo sometimes. But iOS 16 is out now. It's good and all that. Now I need to see it. So she's like, can I upgrade? Yep. All right. The other thing that is really cool with it is you can now find your duplicates. I mentioned this. So when I tap on duplicates down here, it is going to find me all of my duplicates. Right now I'm looking at my personal library. So let's go to shared library. Let's go both libraries. There we go, both libraries. So there I can see all of my duplicates. And then from here, what I'm able to do is delete it. Now, what it will do when you merge these together, what it will do is it'll delete the lower res version. So it's going to keep the higher res version. So maybe you have a thumbnail, something along that line. Also, what it will do is it'll merge the information together in that photo. So let's say one photo has the geolocation in it and the other one doesn't. Or one photo has a caption and the other one doesn't. What it'll do is it'll merge that all together. So the photo that doesn't have the caption will now have a caption as an example. So it basically just merges all of that together. And I can just do this selectively, or I can just go and select and then select them all. If you have a lot of them, you can select them all, and then you can just go there and merge them. Works with videos as well. So this isn't not only for photos, but it's also for videos. So, Deborah, you are actually moving photos out of your personal library to the shared library. Yes. Other participants can delete. Good point. Yes, thank you, Deborah. So if you look in the chat, what Deborah is saying is that because it is a shared library, they are able to delete it. They're able to edit it. Now, when you edit it, you still can always go back and revert to the original, so that's not too critical. But they could delete it, and then it's gone. So you have to be a little careful of that, and make sure that you're not sharing this willy-nilly with someone that could delete all of your photos. What Deborah does, what she says is she will duplicate it before she shares it, which is what I have. You're going to see when I look at. Let's get out of here a minute. Go to library here. You're going to see that. I have the same kind of thing. I have multiple photos in here, and some of them are in the shared, and some of them are not. But that's because I have a mess for this demo thing here. But yes, thank you, Deborah. All right, so that's photos. Now let's take a look at reminder list templates. This, I think, is really cool with reminders. You may have seen me talk about this on macOS Ventura or with iOS 16. With reminders, we can create, let's go and open up my reminders here. We can create templates. Now, why would we want to create a template? Well, I'm going to delete a few of these lists here. My analogy or my story with this is packing list. You're going somewhere, and what you have on your reminders is a packing list. I need to take my computer, I need to take toothpaste, I need to take the chargers, shoes, that kind of thing. And then when you're done, what I would like to do, if you have a lot of lists here, you'd like to remove that list. It's gone. I don't want it sitting here in my list. I could have 50 lists all of a sudden. Or maybe you create separate packing lists for different trips. You don't want to have a clutter. Now, you could put them in a folder and all that, but really just get rid of it. You're done with that trip. You want to get rid of it. The problem with that is you go on another trip. Wouldn't it be great if you could use that same packing list again and start over? Grocery list is another option for this. Well, that's how templates come into play. So let's say that what I would like to do is create a template out of this packing list. The way that I do that is, see here, show list info. Nope. Is it add list? There we go, templates. Okay, so I'll start over. You go and add a list down at the bottom, and then you go over to templates. And what I want to do, oh, sorry, I go to the More button here. Maybe they'll change this in iPadOS 17. But you can kind of see, we've all talked about this too, how my brain works. I'd sit there and like, nope, that's not it, that's not it. Ah, there it is. Go up into the More button. And from here, what I'm able to do is save this as a template. When I save this as a template, I can name it. So I'm going to include the completed reminders as well. So now I have my template called packing list, and it's going to include anything that I have checked off from this reminders list that I based it off of. I click save. Now I have my template. So I go on my trip. Well, let's go on. I took my razor. I go on my trip. I'm done. I delete this list. It's gone. All right, I'm going on another trip. Oh, God, I wish I had that packing list thing. Oh, yeah, I can do that. I go to Add List down at the bottom, Templates, and then you're going to see Packing List. And let's just say this one's for Florida. I can rename it. And now I have a packing list for Florida with all of those same things. I can go and add more items to this. Now, Ponch and Marilyn are in Arizona for the winter. We're thinking of going and visiting them. I need a packing list for that. That's hot weather. I'm going to have I'm going to take different things over there. So I go and add a list. Templates, packing list. This one's for AZ. Create. And there's my packing list for Arizona. And now what I'm able to do is customize this one. I go and add new items to it. Bathing suit. So I have my bathing suit there for Arizona. I could put that in Florida as well. And when I go up to more here, save as template, I'm able to save that as a new template. I can go and manage my templates. Go up to templates over here. Packing list. I can see the items, edit the template. And now what I'm able to do is actually add items to the original template. Maybe I want to add bathing suit to this because I need to take it on all of my trips. You can go and edit the original template. And then any new templates that you create off of it are going to include any of those new items. So I think this is really cool because I don't like when these lists start to get really long. To me, it's a little depressing because I'm thinking I'm not getting anything done and I get a little overwhelmed or who knows what, So I like to keep things nice and short, So I'm like, okay, yeah, we're good. So now what I'm able to do is just I'm done with that trip, delete it. I'm done with that trip, delete it. I go on another trip. What I'm able to do is go and create a new list, create a new shopping list, create a new grocery list, whatever we want, whatever list you want to use. So I think that is really cool. They did add some new smart list kind of stuff as well, but that is my favorite feature, and I think it's pretty powerful, and I think a lot of people would like that. All right, contacts. Contacts, they've created a couple of new things, and it's even better on the iPad and the iPhone than it is in macOS Ventura. That is the duplicate detection. On top of that, we can now, and I'm going to go use that word finally, we can now edit and create lists or groups. They've changed it to lists in the iPad, in the Contacts app on the iPad. So let's go and open up my contacts here. And you are going to see over on the left, I have a bunch of lists. previously called groups. I want to add a new list. I just tap Add List down at the bottom, and I can go and add a new list. I just drag names into that list. So here it is. I name it. Let's just call this one, because I have Arizona on my mind right now. I'll just call it Arizona. And let's say Abigail is in Arizona. All I have to do is just take this and drag it. And now, when I click on Arizona, there's Abigail. We were not able to do this prior to iPadOS 16. We can do this on iOS 16 as well. The only way that we could do this was through iCloud and through the Mac. We could not do this on the iPad, which was really mind-boggling. Well, now we can, and it works really, really well. The other thing that they added was duplicate search. And this actually works a lot better than how it works on the Mac. With the Mac, when you go and find duplicates, what it does is it says, okay, I'm going to merge all these together, or merge your duplicates together. With the iPad and the iPhone, you can actually go into each duplicate and select which ones you want to merge together. So you have what I call granular control. You don't have that on the Mac, even with macOS Ventura. So I go tap on View Duplicates. If I were to skip by this, you could always go down to the bottom, and you're going to see duplicates found at the bottom as well. Sometimes this will disappear. If I tap on the X here, that will disappear, and then you're not going to be able to find your duplicates. Well, you can always find them down at the bottom here. Well, there it goes, the bottom there. So let's go and see how this works. I go View Duplicates. We can see that I found 3 cards with Beth. Now what I'm able to do is just tap on the blue button to merge it, or I can go 3 cards, and I can see what information is different. Again, can't do this on a Mac even. So if I tap on the first one here, I can see what the information is there. Tap on the second one, I can see her information there. So you can go through each one of these, and then you can merge them all together if you want. So I would actually recommend, if you find duplicates in your contacts, do it on your iPad or do it on your iPhone, and don't do it on the Mac, because, like I say, as you can see, you have granular control there, which is really cool. So you want to do that. All right, now we are at the last one. And this is not a favorite feature, but I have hope for it. And that is Stage Manager. With Stage Manager, the idea behind it was that you're going to be able to manage multiple windows like what you can do on the Mac. And I love Stage Manager on the Mac. I need to clarify that. I use Stage Manager on the Mac. It works well. It really is cool. And it's not for everybody. Some people can easily manage, and there are other tools, Moom, there's different ways that you can manage all of your windows, but a lot of times what I will do is I will have 3 or 4 windows open in a specific application, wow, this YouTube stuff, weird. Getting not great comment, spam, I should say. Anyway, so with what you're able to do is manage multiple windows now on the iPad. So as I was saying, with the Mac, what I'm able to do is group different windows together from different applications. The classic example is I use Vimeo and YouTube. So I'll have a window open in Vimeo, a window open in YouTube. I'll have a Finder window open, and then I'll also have Final Cut Pro open because I edit my videos in Final Cut Pro. I'm able to group that together on the Mac in a separate cast, and I'll talk about the terminology here shortly. And when I click on that in the Stage Manager, it just opens up those windows. All the other ones are set aside. They're off the stage. And then what if I want to go into my contacts, or my mail, I click on that, and it moves Final Cut Pro and all those other ones off of the stage, off of my screen, and it brings whatever I want to do in the forefront. So it's a nice way of managing windows, and that's what they're trying to do with the iPad as well. So to turn it on, you go to your control center, And then you're going to see down at the bottom here, I have it down at the bottom here, this little square with the 3 dots. When I tap on that, Stage Manager is now on. So what does this do? Well, when I open up Safari, you're going to see, a little laggy there, there it is. It opened it up in a window. What I can do is move this around. Now, it's not completely like a Mac. I can't move this window over to the left. I can't move it over to the right. You're going to see it's perfectly centered. But I can resize it. And if I want to open up my Files app, I can open up a new window in my Files app here. Oops, let's see here. This is why it's not as good. Here, let's just open up, let's just do it this way. It's not, there we go. And there we go. Nope, didn't do it. Here, we'll go this way. There's Files. I can add that window in here. There we go. As you can see, it's buggy. It's not intuitive. I shouldn't say it's not buggy. It is not intuitive. On the Mac, it just works great. On the iPad, it's not, to me and to others, it's not that intuitive. I swipe over on the left to pull out. So everything, let's go over the terminology here. What we're looking at here on the left side, these are what I'm going to call cast members. I think this is what Apple's original intent with Stage Manager. These are all cast members. And these are all off of the stage. Where is the stage? Well, the stage is what I'm looking at here. I'm looking at my desktop, and I'm looking at Safari here. This is my stage. So when I bring back my cast members here, if I were to tap on one of these casts, let's go over to reminders here. If I tap on reminders, what it's going to do is it's going to move the Safari and Files off of the stage and bring reminders up. So it's basically swapping them out like a stage manager. Okay, you're off the stage next. You're up next. Okay, tap on it. Now we can see that. The other ones are off of the stage, and my reminders is there. Let's go and make this a window. I just go from the upper left-hand corner and drag it down. Now it's a window. And if I want to go back over to my Safari and Files, remember how I said that I could do this on the Mac? I was able to easily just look at my Final Cut Pro and my, my Vimeo or YouTube. I would tap on it. Now I'm looking at Final Cut Pro and Vimeo as an example. In this case, Buddy Boss and my desktop. I want to go back to reminders. Now I'm looking back at reminders. But the problem with it is it opens up into full screen sometimes. I can open this up in a window by going to the upper left-hand corner and dragging it down. Now it's in a window. That's what I want. But watch what happens when I go back over to Safari and Files. Okay. I go back over to reminders, tap on it, goes back into full screen. That's not what I wanted. I already set it to. So those are the little things that you run into that frustrate you. So this is why I say it's not a favorite feature, but it works so good on the Mac. I really do think that it works well on the Mac that I kind of hope that they will figure out how to do it on the iPad. But essentially, that's the gist of it. We have our stage. We can put multiple windows on there. I can drag my photos up, and put it into here. And now I'm looking at my photos and reminders at the same time. I can go and add another one. Let's go with my contacts. I can drag this, put that on the stage at the same time. And you're going to see I have 3 windows there. Pretty cool for an iPad. Now I go over to Safari and my Files app. Now I want to go back over to those other 3. I can bring them, and then it's going to show those other 3. There they are. I can move these around to a certain degree. So it's there. You can get the idea of what they're trying to do. It's just it just kind of has a mind of its own at times, and on the Mac it doesn't necessarily do that. So I don't know if how they're going to, but I know that is the main reason why they delayed iPadOS 16 is because of this. And I say it's not ready for prime time yet, but you can try it, and I think for simple stuff it might be okay, and maybe it's just the way that I use it. But I thought I better cover it because that was it's a big feature, and there's a huge amount of promise with it. So that is those are my favorite features with iPadOS 16. You can see there's quite a bit there, and a lot of it goes with iOS 16 and things like that. So, but it's pretty nice stuff in there. Yeah, Stage Manager, a little bit of a wah-wah disappointment, kind of thing. Does anyone have any questions? I'm going to turn my spotlight off here. And now we're looking at everybody again. I noticed that my video was a little bit laggy there, so I think I'm still having an internet problem, so hopefully it'll be okay. But I know my recording is going to be fine because I do record all locally, so tomorrow I'm sure that this will be fine on my thing, so anybody could watch that later. So, yeah.
Dan, can I have a question?
Go for it.
At the top, when I click on my screen, that bar across the top, it doesn't stay there, it goes away. Is there a way of keeping it up there? Where it's mute, stop videos, video participants, all that?
Are you talking about Zoom?
Yes, I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah. And this is on an iPad or on a Mac?
iPad.
No, I don't know. I haven't really played around with Zoom. Zoom kind of does their own window magic, which frustrates me at times too. Like if you go on a Mac, and I'm sure it's the same thing on Windows, when you use Zoom on, they have windows that float above everything else, and that can get a little frustrating at times. So,
Okay.
Sorry, I don't have an answer for you. So,
okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's just call that a wrap. Did someone have?
Dan,
Yes.
just one quick comment.
Go for it.
When you were talking about that shared library, I noticed that the camera then the camera app asks you to either set up shared library, or if you have done that, then it automatically, every photo that you take then automatically starts to go into the shared library unless you turn that off.
Yes. Yeah, with the camera, I have a video on my site about that. When you set it up, you can, on the iPhone, when you open up the camera, you can select which, let's see if I have that here. I'll spotlight myself again here. And I'm going to go to my iPhone. And this has the shared library built in it. So when I go to my camera, you're going to see my computer there. Up towards the top, there we go. You're going to see that little, there it goes. So the little silhouette. Right now, if I take a photo, that means that it is going to go into my personal library because it has a little line through it. When I tap on it, now what it's going to do is it's going to go into my shared library. Tap on it. Now it's going to go into my personal library. So you can select when you're in the camera where you want it to go. So yeah, that is something to be aware of when you're taking photos with your iPhone. Which one do you want it to go into? So, all right. Let's call that a wrap. Hour and a half, pretty good. So next week I'm going to be having, let me look at my calendar. I think it's, I'm pretty sure it's going to be one of my standard AMAs, but let me just double check. And that will be Thursday at 6 o'clock. Like I said earlier, in January I'm going to be moving these about an hour ahead of time. December 8th. Ask me anything. So that's going to be a standard AMA. So thank you, everyone, for your support. If you know anyone that could benefit from my stuff, please share the information. I appreciate it. And thank you for everything, for all your questions and, input. I appreciate that. So let's call that a wrap.
Do you still recommend that we hold off going from Monterey to Ventura?
No, I think you could go to. I'm comfortable with Ventura. I'm comfortable with it. I've not run into any issues with it. I dare say I run into less issues.
You said to wait, so that's why I wondered.
Yeah, no, I'd say you're good. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Some nice, good
thanks.
features with it. So, yep.
All right.
All right. Thank you, and we'll see everyone later.
Au revoir.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Aloha.
Good night.